In the dying years of the Tang dynasty, the empire's banners still clung to the edge of the world, where the desert chewed its cities like a slow beast, and a single sandstorm could erase the trace of men and civilization alike. From that war-scarred edge, only 9 survived. Once elite border guards, they held the line as the court withheld reinforcements, watching brothers fall like candles in the storm. No glory, no triumph, only the silence of the capital. If heaven has abandoned us, they swore, then we shall make the heavens quake. Thus rose raging tides. Soldiers reborn not by honor, but by betrayal, forged by sand, by steel, and by the memory of the dead. For a century, they stood as the last bastion of the Northwest, a single, thin spear between the empire and chaos. And among their arts, one name thundered across the rivers and lakes: the Heaven Quaker Spear, a strike that turns the sky pale, a thrust that carries every brother's ghost. Tonight, we inherit that legacy. Welcome to the Heaven Quaker build. The Heaven Quaker philosophy is simple. The spear is a raging tide. We do not chip away at the mountain. We overwhelm the line with one decisive thrust. This doctrine unfolds in a continuous chain of command. We begin with the Heaven Quaker Spear. Open with sober sorrow, spinning the weapon to catch as many enemies as possible. You need to land 6 hits to stack your damage buff to the maximum level, Tier 3. With our strength amplified, we immediately crash down with Sweep All. In the old texts, this is called toppling mountains and overturning seas. Mechanically, it lives up to the name. It deals heavy impact damage, shreds the enemy's physical defense, and applies the first touch of bleed. With the enemy broken, we immediately swap to the strategic sword. Now, we simply ride the momentum. While the defense, shred, and damage buff are active, use Inner Track Slash, Inner Balance Strike, or your Charged Heavy to apply 5 stacks of bleed before the tide recedes. Finally, while the spear's buff is still holding, we deliver the verdict. Through the Sword Horizon Inner Way, we use crisscrossing swords to consume all 5 stacks instantly. It hits with the force of a thunderbolt. In this build, bleed doesn't wait, it erupts. Buff the spirit, flood the breach, drown the survivors. That is the way of the raging tides. You've understood the strategy, but a strategy without inner strength is a corpse without breath. A general does not rely on steel alone. He relies on internal cultivation. To channel the raging tides, we open 4 specific meridians. First, Wolf Chaser's Art. Normally, the Heaven Quaker Spear requires a long combination to ramp up. This art reduces that requirement, guaranteeing you reach the max buff tier immediately, even against a single target. It ensures consistency in every rotation. Second, Sword Horizon. This is the heart of the build. Without it, the sword merely bleeds. With it, it executes. It allows crisscrossing swords to consume all 5 stacks of bleed instantly. This ensures we burst for full damage before the spear's buff window expires. Third, Morale Chant. This grants the Yi River buff simply by attacking or healing. In the current meta, this art is omnipresent. You will find it in almost every build because it offers free, unconditional power. It is simply too efficient to ignore. Finally, Adaptive Steel. This art shifts form to match the steel in your hand. When we wield the spear, it ignores 12.5% of the enemy's physical defense. When we swap to the sword, it grants a chance to inflict extra bleed with every affinity strike. It optimizes both phases of the battle. Wolf Chaser for consistency, Sword Horizon for the burst, morale chant for the raw power, adaptive steel for the penetration. Steel is our primary language, but even a general must know when to employ the mystic. When our endurance runs low, or the enemy refuses to break, we deploy two specific tactical combinations to maintain the siege. First, the Scorched Earth strategy, Ghostbind and Dragon's Breath. We use this pairing to dictate the battlefield. Ghostbind immobilizes the target. We then combine this with Dragon's Breath. While they are locked down, we apply ignition. We layer fire upon the bleed. If they do not drown in the tide, they will burn in the furnace. Second, the Heavens Fall strategy, Cloud Steps and Guardian Palm. This is my personal preference for defensive utility. We use Cloud Steps to ascend high into the sky, charging power while hanging in the air, strategically avoiding attacks when our stamina is depleted. Then, we crash down with Guardian Palm. It strikes like the legendary Buddha's Palm, dealing massive damage and stunning everything in the impact zone. We use the sky to recover and the earth to punish. Lock them down, burn them out, or crash down from the heavens. These are the reserves of a raging tide. A strategy is only as strong as the steel that enforces it. To outfit a raging tide, we rely on the Hawkwing set for our offense. The logic here is circular and deadly. Because our strategic sword floods the breach with rapid hits, we trigger affinity constantly. The Hawkwing set takes those affinity triggers and converts them into raw physical attack power. The more we strike, the higher our attack rises. And the higher our attack rises, the harder our bleed ticks. We use the speed of the sword to feed the power of the spear, but a general must survive the breach to see the victory. For this, we equip Eagle Rise. This armor was made for our doctrine, because its defensive bonus activates every single time we deal damage over time. Since a raging tide ensures the enemy is always bleeding, we are always armored. It even grants the Eagle Guard effect, a massive damage shield that triggers every 30 seconds. Treat this not as a safety net, but as permission to trade blows. And this brings us to the final measure of strength, your stats. In other schools, warriors obsess over critical hit shots. They rely on luck. The Raging Tides do not gamble. Bleed damage scales off your raw attack power. We do not care about crits. We care about consistency. We care about brute force. Maximize your attack. Stack it until the UI refuses to go higher. Let the others pray for a critical hit. We will simply crush them with the weight of our steel. History is written by the victors, but legends are written by the survivors. The 9 men of Anxi are gone. The Raging Tides have faded into the dust of the western frontier, but their philosophy remains. The spear commands the distance. The sword seals the fate. It is fair to call this a spear build, not because it deals the final blow, but because without the general, the battle is lost before it begins. So take this doctrine. Stack the bleed, open the breach, flood the line. Walk the Jianghu not as a wanderer seeking glory, but as a commander demanding justice. Let the court forget us. Let the dynasty rot. As long as you hold this spear, the Raging Tides will never die. Leave a like if you enjoyed this guide. Subscribe if you want to see more deep dives into where winds meet. Until the next one, I'll see you on the frontier.